Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Hi, Wilbon. Back in the attic. Here we go. Let us start with the NBA. Mark Berman of the New York Post has a story in which he says the NBA really is going to want to crown a champion this year. A lot of scenarios are out there in play. One of them has all the teams staying in the same city, playing all the games in the same spot, all the playoff games, no fans in the stands. The series themselves, Mike, could shrink to, say, 2 games out of 3. Las Vegas has obviously been mentioned because there are so many hotels. Also Atlantic City. Also, if I have this right, Orlando and the Bahamas. Is there anything in this which particularly intrigues you?
Tony, intrigues, I don't know. I mean, I've been to Summer League as recently as this past summer in Las Vegas. And it's certainly interesting to have all the teams. Obviously, you don't really have the stars unless they're just coming to watch, like, LeBron will pop up and Kevin Durant, and they'll watch the teams they're playing for, the young guys who are trying to make the team or impress. And, there's a certain coolness to it when it's Summer League. I mean, the playoffs, I guess it could have that sort of cachet. I mean, Vegas and the Bahamas are the only ones that when I hear this sort of make any sense. And I mentioned this to you yesterday about Vegas having been that floated and certain people shoot it down and certain people embrace it. Tone, I don't know. Look, we're so far out still that I don't know. Maybe they can have actual in-arena playoff games. Maybe not. And the NBA has to prepare for everything. So I guess intrigue on a 1 to 10 scale, maybe a 4. What about you?
Yeah, well, I will watch it. I mean, there's no sports. If they put something on, even without fans, I'm going to watch this. But I will say this. I think 2 out of 3 is very exciting, but it wouldn't work for me on a final. You'd have to give me at least 3 out of 5 in a final situation. And I would feel like, Mike, because of the Summer League experience, I would feel this is sort of like Summer League, sort of a scrimmage of sorts. It would not have the grandeur to me of what the NBA ought to have for a championship. And I might get a little bit afraid, Mike, that they were just doing it for money.
Tone, you know what? I hadn't thought about that last part, and I would understand if that was the case. But, Tony, no, it's the kind of thing where you think people are going to say, well, that needs to have an asterisk. If you're not playing this, home sites, home arenas, things that we associate absolutely with NBA playoffs or NHL playoffs if they had to do something similar. Is it an asterisk situation? Are people going to dismiss it 10 years down the road? I don't think a league wants to get into it if it can anticipate that. But what the hell can we anticipate now anyway appropriately? It's hard to anticipate anything.
Let me get to the thing that I mentioned the other day. If you're talking about June or July or August, the NBA shut the whole league down based on one positive test for the virus. You put all these players together in June, July, or August, you really think there's going to be no test to a coach, a staff guy, a player, and it shuts down right there. It does.
Yeah. No, Tony, that's a great point. They're going to have to consider all things that we're not even thinking of right now. We're going to move to the NCAA for a second, which voted Monday to give an extra year of eligibility to all spring sport athletes, Tony. So that includes sports including lacrosse, baseball, golf, softball, tennis, the spring sports. That's not the winter sports, so people who missed the end of their basketball tournaments and things like that are not included. But spring sport athletes, Tony, there are a whole lot of considerations in this too, which we'll get to. But do you and I, which we pound on the NCAA pretty regularly, do we have to give them a little pat on the back for this?
Yeah, we don't pound on the NCAA pretty regularly. You pound on the NCAA pretty regularly. You compare them all the time to Barney Fife, which is a reference that nobody under 50 gets anymore. But in this particular case, they have done a very good thing, and they do deserve credit. But, and there's a large but here, we are not talking about revenue-producing sports. We're not talking about basketball and football where people get full scholarships. We're talking about a lot of walk-ons and a lot of people who maybe get partial scholarships for these spring sports, which means, Mike, that they or their families are going to have to go for an extra year of tuition. And you have to consider that that a lot of people are going to say, you know, I'd love to stay and play, but I got to get on with my life because I don't have this kind of money.
You're right, Tony, on all those. But yes, as someone who pounds the NCAA regularly, let me give them a standing ovation for this. They didn't choose the sports. They're saying the people who missed their entire season, particularly the seniors who missed their entire season, this is an option for you. It's not mandatory. And Tony, you're right. And how about the coaches who have to figure out, wait a minute, I recruited 3 freshmen who were going to come in here. And so now how are we going to further divide up scholarships, although the NCAA and schools can help? The richer schools will have an easier time of this?
Mike, they got to allow people to transfer. If I sign up to play lacrosse someplace and the seniors come back and the sophomores and the juniors come back and I don't get time, you've got to let me go somewhere else, right? I mean, you can't hold me to that commitment if suddenly the system is so clogged that I get no playing time.
Tone, lots of problems like these, but it's worth it. It is worth. This is the NCAA doing the right thing first, and then we'll figure out all the bumps in the road down the road.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Let us turn now to pro football and Jameis Winston and his teammate, former teammate Chris Godwin, who caught all those passes on Tampa from Jameis Winston, who is now saying, hey, you're giving him too much blame. He told the boardroom, I'm not familiar with the work of the boardroom, but he told the boardroom that the receivers made a lot of mistakes, all right, including himself, and that some of these interceptions are not Jameis Winston's fault. With that in mind, Wilbon, do you agree with this assessment? And what sort of future are you seeing now in the NFL for Jameis Winston?
Tony, I'm glad I listened to a lot of Godwin's segment. Because, first of all, he's my new favorite guy, you know, in the NFL, Chris Godwin, for a lot of reasons. I'm sure we'll get to the Tom Brady one later. But, Tony, I just think he makes a great point. Look, he says during his segment, Jameis has made some bad judgments. Let's not try to absolve him of all blame here. But some of these things were receivers, including himself, making the wrong read. Some of it's the risky nature of that particular offense, which really is a gambler's offense, as we've talked about in relation to the people that he's worked with in the past, and Tom Brady's participation and whether they'll change that offense in Tampa coming up. So, Tony, there's more nuance in it and there's more subtlety in it than just, these weren't Jameis's fault. That's not what he says. Quarterbacks get too much credit. They often get too much blame. And I think he makes some legitimate points in this.
There's a really cool little statistic that I was made aware of today, that people who've had bad seasons, statistically bad seasons, maybe thrown a lot of interceptions or lost the ball. Bruce Arians, in his first year with Andrew Luck, in his first year with Carson Palmer, and obviously this past year in his first year with Jameis Winston, they all had this problem, which makes me fear a little bit for Tom Brady in his first year with Bruce Arians, because it's an offense that in your first year you don't adapt to necessarily. I think Jameis Winston, 30 interceptions is terrible. He threw for 5,000 yards. Are you kidding me? He's a starter in this league in the right spot. Now, he's not going to be a starter this year. He'll back somebody up, but he'll get a chance. Everybody gets a chance. He could be Ryan Tannehill at another team, don't you think?
Or better, Tony. But here's the thing. Winston just he had the 130 year, which everybody obsesses over. Tony, he's got more turnovers almost every year in his 5 seasons than anybody else. And if you add the 5, his turnovers are staggering. So it's not just with Arians. He's had this problem. He's going to personally have to get better. And again, Godwin wasn't avoiding that point, but it's one of the points that's probably getting lost in the larger discussion.
Let me just get to one thing that you mentioned earlier. Godwin, to his credit, gave Tom Brady number 12. Didn't hold him up for money. Gave him number 12 out of respect and took number 14 himself, which is a great gesture.
Yep. All right, Tony, we're going to take a break.
Geico has the insurance industry-leading app that lets you manage your policy anytime, anywhere. Which means that Geico is always there for you. If only everyone was always there for you. Like animal control, when you're cornered in your garage by an angry possum.
Hi, me again. You guys said you would be here about an hour ago, and I think the possum is starting to get angry. Listen, I thought if I fed it, it would go away, but now it is ripping holes in the drywall and making some sort of nest. Just call me back.
Geico, always there for you with savings and the industry-leading mobile app.
Wilbon, look who we got on the screen. We got Mel Kiper. Remember when we were at the Post? We probably have known Mel for 35 years. And I used to make fun of him in the column all the time. He said, leave Mel alone. Stop it. Leave him alone. Well, I came to love Mel.
He should never speak to you. He should have stopped speaking to you decades ago.
So he didn't. He stayed with me. I had hair, I have no hair. You had hair, you have no hair. Look at Mel. Mel has won. He has won this. All right, Mel, we're going to start with this. Do you see Joe Burrow as the type of prospect that someone would make a huge offer to Cincinnati to go get?
I think Miami could, Tony. That's the rumor out there. They had the draft picks to do it. If they feel it's worth giving up a lot of picks to go get Burrow, and then does Cincinnati want to move off of there and allow somebody else to get the best quarterback in this draft, a franchise quarterback? The Bengals have had 2 eras of Super Bowl. Kenny Anderson, Boomer Esiason. Now they could have Joe Burrow. If I'm the Bengals, unless I get bowled over, I'm taking Burrow number 1.
Wow. All right, let's stay with quarterbacks for at least one more question, Mel. How much stock, if any, do you put into the possibility, the gossip, that the Redskins could actually take Tua at number 2?
I thought, Mike, about a month and a half, 2 months ago that was possible, but without the true draft process and getting all the medical, everything you need to feel safe and secure with a quarterback with 3 lower extremity injuries and that serious hip injury, I think the Redskins take Chase Young. They need a pass rusher to go after Daniel Jones, and you think about Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz. In that division, you have 3 really good quarterbacks. You need Chase Young. I think the fact that we haven't had a true process has hurt too in terms of teams like the Redskins taking him, or maybe even somebody trading up to get him.
All right, so let me stay with Chase Young for a second. Mm-hmm. Do you see him as having, Mel, the kind of impact that Joe Burrow or a healthy Tua could have?
Yeah, he's still number 1 on the board, Chase Young is. And I said all along that had he been the game wrecker he had been in those final 3 games of the year when he came back from the suspension and he didn't record a sack, had he been dominant in those 3 games, the Bengals would have had a decision to make. But that was made easier by Chase Young being quiet in those 3 games and allowed him to be a Washington Redskin at pick number 2.
All right, back to quarterbacks, Mel. I want to ask you about Utah State's Jordan Love. Mel, what is it that scouts didn't see during the 2 seasons in which he was a full-time starter that they look at now and say, oh, wait a minute, this guy could be really a player of impact and he's going back up the board a little bit?
Yeah, he's always been. I had him in the first mock, like going in the late first round, and then he's way up there now. Senior Bowl week, he was impressive, as we thought he would be with the arm talent he has. But Justin Herbert Arden was more impressive. Game day, Herbert was MVP. Jordan Love wasn't. Until the year he had, he lost 9 starters. But you can't excuse everything away. There were a couple games there. He was around 51% against 2 teams that were 6 and 18. Didn't play a challenging schedule. But 2 years ago, when he had help, he was at 64% with a 31 touchdowns and with 6 picks. So when he had talent, he did a great job. He's got great arm talent. I think, guys, he could go to the Raiders at pick number 12.
Well, let me ask you a general question about the draft and the times we're in, which you've already referred to. Do you think the restrictions on player personnel departments will really impact the success that certain staffs will have?
Not at all. And I go back to 1971 and 1974 when the Pittsburgh Steelers had arguably the 2 best drafts in the history of the draft. They got 4 Hall of Famers in 1 draft. Not benefiting from this crazy draft process where you test, retest, check, recheck again. Everybody. Overanalysis causes paralysis. I think it's too long. The teams that I talk to that have well-stocked departments personnel-wise, they want to draft late February, March 1st. They don't want to draft late April. So I don't think it's going to have any impact whatsoever on teams that have a good idea of what they're doing year in and year out.
Okay, so we'll get you out of here on this. A lot of general managers have said they wish the draft would not go on as scheduled. Wilbon and I, we think it should go on as scheduled. What do you think?
I said all along I think it should. A free agency did, and look what happened. It gave everybody kind of an escape and back to a little bit of normalcy in a world where anything but that right now is going on. So I think you can do this. We did it as a non-fan event back in the day. It was just a TV event. There's no reason why it can't be that now in a year that is unlike any other we will ever probably have to ever deal with.
Thank you so much, Mel. Nice to see the Chesapeake Bay Bridge in the background.
Geico presents Left Brain versus Right Brain.
I've decided it's a sensible decision to switch to Geico.
Okay, I feel you.
We could save ourselves hundreds of dollars a year on car insurance.
Oh, and then airbrush a Pegasus on the side of our hatchback.
No, we will not airbrush a Pegasus on the side of our hatchback. We will reinvest that savings in a high-yield investment like a mutual fund.
Oh, a Pegasus, riding a jet ski, playing a bass guitar.
I cannot believe we share the same medulla.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Happy time, kids. I go to the glasses to read. Happy 58th birthday, John Taylor. Taylor is
to walk off the do that.
An auto policy from State Farm gets you collision coverage. And this radio ad from State Farm gets you coverage of this beloved 90s hit.
I hit a car. I hit a car. I hit a car. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. My agent's gonna help me.
For more coverage, visit statefarm.com.